once again to another edition of Good Books Radio. I'm your host this week, Dr. John Cook. Good Books Radio is underwritten by audiobooks.com. Try one today for free. With me today is Dr. Donald Hayes. He's the founder and president of an organization I can't pronounce. Dr. Hayes received a Bachelor of Science degree from University of Oregon and a doctorate in chiropractic from Western States Chiropractic College in 1977. And throughout his career, Dr. Hayes has excelled as a clinician, an educator, and an author in the field of nutritional wellness. He has delivered postgraduate nutritional wellness boot camp seminars to nearly 1,200 chiropractors, physicians, acupuncturists, naturopaths, and staff throughout the U.S., Australia, and New Zealand. He's the author of a number of other popular books, including The 7 Habits of Healthy Living, 90-Day Food and Exercise Diary, and Rejuvenation. So, Dr. Hayes, welcome to the program. Help me with that, what you call it worldwide, the Limited Liability Corporation.
Well, it's Pseudomed.
Okay.
Pseudomed Worldwide, also Wellness Watchers is another one of them, or we call it. So, either one, John.
Okay, great. So we are wealthy today with books because I got the E Myth Nutritionist by you and Dr. Gerber, and then I also got Alkalize Now, which I do want to make sure we do some talking about. But the E Myth Nutritionist was enlightening for me. The subtitle of that is Why Most Healthcare Practices Don't Work and What to Do About It. And what I discovered was why my business failed, even though I wasn't in the nutritionist business. So there's a lot of good information there about how to plan and successfully build a practice that turns into a business.
Correct. That is Gerber's forte. For, I think, over 30 years, he's helped many small businesses in a lot of different fields just understand how to get better organized, systematized, and put themselves in a place where they can do better. I mean, what Gerber talks about, John, is that you might go to school to be a plumber, and you may become one heck of a good plumber, but that you think that qualifies you to open a plumbing business. And he says the two are completely different. Now, when it spins into nutrition, I used Mr. Gerber's principles in my own chiropractic offices, the 4 that I ran, because, again, I went to school. I knew a lot about science. I knew a lot about nutrition, but I didn't really know how to do the business. So I used his principles. It helped me a great deal. And here, 30 years later, now that I'm teaching so much nutrition, he felt it was important that we might try to help teach healthcare providers, again, who know a lot about nutrition, study about it, get a lot of degrees in it, but they don't really know how to apply it, let's say, in a practice setting so they can help a lot of patients. So he asked if I would co-write the book with him. I was delighted to do so, and that's how it came about.
Okay. He talks in there, or the two of you talk about the 4 kinds of money: income, profit, flow, and equity. I think that's a good lesson for any business.
It really is, and again, he spends there's 26 chapters. He spends the 13 chapters talking about his principles, which are time tested and proven, and then I adapt each of the 13 chapters also with the nutritional piece of this. Mm-hmm. So if I went to a healthcare practitioner's idea of those 4 methods, the one that I always resonate with, John, is equity. Most of us go into practice, we know nothing about that. Certainly not as a healthcare provider. It's not even our intention or focus. But we realize at the end of our career, near the end of our career, that we really don't have much to sell there now that we're ready to retire. And so if we have an eye focus on it, and I say nutrition, if we can build a real nutritional following by having the people in our community realize that we're a resource for nutrition, then all of a sudden the equity could go up and another healthcare provider could come in, purchases, and continue on.
Mm-hmm. Well, income and profit, I think most people understand. The issue of money flow is really where the rubber meets the road for business in my mind. Flow is what money does into a practice as opposed to what money is. And flow is what's essential, and most healthcare practitioners don't pay attention to flow until it dries up or it's too slow.
100% that. And if you take it into the world of nutrition, guess what? Many of them have a real desire to offer nutrition. They know the bona fide benefits of it. They know with today's science that it needs to be integrated as a part of it. They know that the average patient that comes in to see a doctor today is involved with it. They're purchasing it. They don't know what they need to buy. But what doctors will do, one of two fallacies. They'll either say, gee, I don't know enough about it, and stay away from it, which is sad for them and also for the patient, or they'll over-purchase products on their shelves, not knowing how to apply it. And that can be burdensome on their overhead. They don't know what to do. They're certainly not about selling vitamins and making money there, but they just don't know what to do. So really what my role was there in that subtitle, Why Most Healthcare Practices Don't Work and What to Do About It, was that they need, meaning the healthcare provider, needs to realize that in this day and age, if you're not offering nutrition in an effective way that complements what you're out to do, the outcome for the patient, and then maybe minimizing, John, those products to where it helps you with your outcome, carrying those, applying those, it can be profitable. It can be profitable, and that can help the business. But more importantly, what it'll do, it will improve the outcome of the patient. The patient will get well. And healthcare practices, John, as you can imagine, are built on referrals. So the more people that I'm able to help in my practice, the more you tell people in the community, more can come in to see me, and the healthier my business becomes.
Mm-hmm. I do want to talk about your nutrition program and the pH Balance program, but just a note here, in your chapter on recurring money from nutrition, you talk about nutrition growing your practice, and the vitamin and supplement business in the U.S. is booming, and patients will buy from their healthcare provider.
They will, and what my experience has shown is that, again, if you apply a nutritional approach, if you come in with me with symptom A and I can apply both, in my case as a chiropractor, or a structural treatment program along with a nutritional regime that will help you get stabilized faster, and you see the benefit of that, and we'll talk about Alkalize now, as you said in a second, you'll see how that evolves, then you will see it and feel it as a patient, and more than likely will repurchase that product. And since a nutritional product is a consumable, reusable, if you go back to your practitioner and continue to purchase because you had such great results, then that can actually grow the nutritional component of a practice. And guess what? I think most consumers would much rather get their nutritional advice from their healthcare provider than maybe a retail sales clerk if they had that alternative. And if you've had the success from that, you're more likely to continue to rebuy it from that practitioner.
Indeed. A couple of years ago, we had a chiropractor on who had a nutritional supplement program. He was from Canada, and I think it was by far the majority of his business was in the nutrition. And I wonder about why it is that there's alternative healthcare methods that focus on nutrition, and why mainstream medical practice doesn't emphasize nutrition much.
Well, my opinion is simply this. It's just what we're taught in school. If you're an allopathic physician, a mainstream medical physician, they're very heavily burdened down with some surgery and certainly a lot of pharmaceutical approach. I mean, this is just part of their 4-year curriculum. In chiropractic college, nearly 2 years of my 4-year curriculum is devoted to nutrition. So no one practitioner can study it all. So I think in fairness to the allopathic physician, I've been told they have very limited training in nutrition, maybe a nutritional course in infant nutrition or whatnot, but they're not trained in it, and I think maybe some of them feel uncomfortable about it. Again, maybe they go out and get postgraduate work, but the allopath is not trained, and typically the alternative practitioner is a substantial part. I mean, 50% of my 4 years was devoted to nutrition and lifestyle.
Fantastic. Okay, well, let's get into Alkalize Now, pH Balance Program. That's the title of the other book I have in front of me here by Dr. Donald Hayes, and it starts with a relatively simple fact. Our bodies are made up of 75 trillion cells. And so there's a lot of chaos in there, and if you improve the balance of any one system, that's going to improve the vitality of every other system.
100% that, John, and really what we're dealing with here when we're talking Alkalize Now, we made it a metaphor in our information about rusting from the inside out. That metaphor in medical science is actually called a thing called oxidative stress. And oxidative stress, really, it's a condition that is caused in the body, these 75 trillion cells. It's caused and created in the body when there are more free radicals, and I think most of your listeners have heard of that term. It may be somewhat scary to them, but when there are more free radical molecules than antioxidants to neutralize those free radicals, this causes inflammation, tissue breakdown, and a thing that is oxidative stressful, and obviously much like the analogy of iron rusting when oxygen hits it. So the body is not as chaotic as we think, but things that we do to it, and we're not giving an equal balance between this concept of antioxidants and free radicals is there. And that theory is no longer a theory. That was proposed by Denham Harmon, University of Nebraska, in the early 50s. It wasn't taken seriously till the late 60s, when many called the free radical theory of aging or disease, when proved Denham right. And now today there's 80 known non-germ related diseases that are attributable to free radical damage or oxidative stress.
Mm-hmm. Well, that oxidative stress you mentioned, rusting from the inside out, especially around holiday time, we are really rusting ourselves with the kinds of food we eat in our society.
We are, and we have a choice. It's a very difficult thing, but it seems to get more difficult during the holiday seasons. Every food in our food chain, with the exception of fruits and vegetables, a few nuts and seeds, will reduce itself down in metabolism to an acidic ash. They burn to an ash in the body. The fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, a few of those, burn to an alkaline ash. So this is, again, back to the issue of acid or alkaline balance or imbalance, not unlike the free radical antioxidant. So what we need to have more of, our own USDA has tried desperately for many, many years to tell you and I we need to eat 3 servings, then it went to 5, and 7 to 9, and now it's really closer to 7 to 13, because the science is compelling. The absolute best way to get this flood of antioxidants, these are things in the body, if they're in large quantities from fruits and vegetables, they have extra-free electrons. They can neutralize a free radical that is unstable. You see, that unstable free radical with a loose electron attaches to things like cell membranes, and when it does, it kills the cell. If it attaches to the DNA, it actually mutates it and causes a problem. Mm-hmm. So if you have a lot of antioxidants, John, with coming from what they're now finding out, fruits and vegetables will supply the best supply of antioxidants. You can neutralize these bad guys, and you can help stabilize it, maybe prevent one of these 80 chronic diseases, and in some science cases it's suggesting you might even be able to reverse some.
Mm-hmm. And we do want to talk about organic versus regular agribusiness grown vegetables in a minute, but I don't want to get off the pH just yet. I mean, we're talking about these free radicals causing most of the chronic diseases that we attribute to being old or elderly, but they're really a result of not controlling those free radicals. And in fact, repair of injuries, reduce of inflammation, building of strong bones, increase of energy begins when we get that proper acid-alkaline balance, and it's a delicate balance, isn't it? There's a pH level range that's most important for optimal health.
Absolutely. Every fluid in our body can be on a scale of 0 to 14 is the pH range, 7 being neutral. Above 7 is alkaline. Below 7 is acidic. The further below 7, the more acidic. Blood must stay. Blood must stay. It's lethal if it doesn't. 7.35 to 7.45. So it must stay there. And then everything but the stomach acid is alkaline as you measure it. What's interesting is this balance, as you said, and what we're calling it is the antioxidant reserve. I was speaking with a patient the other day who said to me, Dr. Hayes, I don't eat fruits and vegetables, and I feel absolutely wonderful, so why should I eat them? I mean, it's a common question. It needs a good answer. The biggest answer is Sebastian's work, Anthony Sebastian's work at University of California at Berkeley. He proved at what age typically we run out, or our alkaline reserves, our antioxidant supply is gone. And get this, John, it correlates with the age of around 40. And guess what we start as a society to say it happens at age 40? You said it best. We think we're getting old. Mm-hmm. And so at 40 we got the old age diseases. But at age 40, statistically, Sebastian showed that the reserves are gone. He clearly said it's because of what we eat. And he feels that it doesn't have to stop at 40. If we can continue to maintain these reserves, then we may be able to avoid them and maybe even reverse them.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about our wonderful society and how we got so acidic. The current lifestyle habits of most of us reflect acidosis of the tissue because we eat processed foods, prepackaged foods, sugary foods, white flour products, dairy products, alcoholic beverages. I mean, the habits of America and meats, the habits of Americans promote acidity.
They do. too. I mean, just about everything in the food chain, as I said, that we like, I guess as a society that we like, that you just mentioned, all those items burn to an acidic ash. Now, it isn't like you and I can't have some of that. I mean, you don't have to become a vegan that eats, absolutely no dairy and no animal products. If you want to, that's fine. But there are unhealthy vegans. I mean, they can eat corn chips and cola and call that a vegan diet. So it's a matter of balance. And we need the antioxidants that we found, or that I'm recommending, really best come, John, from phytonutrients. Phytonutrients mean plant nutrients, and they've found now through science and research that the darker the colored fruit and vegetable, fruits and vegetables actually produce these things called phytonutrients to protect themselves from the elements and from viruses and bugs that destroy them. Now we're finding if we eat them, they are really rich in the antioxidants, drop down to the cellular level, can help reduce inflammation and help prevent that. So it's really critical what you eat. So the government now shows a plate. They'd like to have 50% of that plate 3 times a day loaded with fruits and vegetables. The other half of that plate could be what you like. It equates to 7 to 9 or 7 to 13 servings, John. It's overwhelming for most Americans because the studies say that they eat usually less than 3, and get this, unfortunately, children eat less than 1. Mm-hmm. It's tragic, and it's creating diabetes in kids in a very early age.
Mm-hmm. You know, phytonutrients is one I was really glad to read about in your book because from a long time ago, I heard that certain algae are great sources of phytonutrients, and I usually take some spirulina in my health shake, and that's one of the things you mentioned is really good for sources of nutrition.
Well, you know, the science says not only do you need quantity, 7 to 13 servings, you need variety. Mm-hmm. That is the problem with when you think of an antioxidant, you take an isolated antioxidant. We've heard of the studies where you take vitamin E, for heart disease, and it was a disappointing study. They took beta-carotene for smokers, and it was a disappointing study because the isolated antioxidant doesn't seem to work as well as synergistically when you take them together. A study at Cornell showed that if you take an apple looking for how much vitamin C in there, there's less than 0.1% of 1% actual vitamin C. But the remaining amount of the apple has vitamin C-like synergistic phytonutrient benefits, leading the scientists to say what? Mm-hmm. You're much better off, by far, 100 times better off, eating the apple than you are by taking a vitamin C by itself. So understand antioxidants are important, but where they come from and a variety of fruits and vegetables is the most important in my mind.
Okay. Let's talk about why alkalizing is so valuable. One of the things is reducing inflammation. And the abusive foods we eat, sugar, fried foods, hydrogenated fats, are too acidic and upset our body chemistry.
They do indeed, and inflammation is the underpinning of every disease you want to name. I was just reviewing one of the latest pathology textbooks that's used in medical schools today, chiropractic and all the alternative schools, and basically it's something like, I think it was 50 chapters. The first 3 chapters are on inflammation. The remaining 47 chapters are the diseases. Mm-hmm. They're trying to get across to us healthcare providers in school inflammation is the underpinning for all disease, and it's pretty much proven that way. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking free radicals and you're talking how they damage the body, they are inflammatory and they cause these problems, and they can be neutralized. Now, the 7 to 9 servings sounds large. It may be. It's half your plate. But there's things you can do. I just said the isolated nutrient I don't think is as beneficial, but there are fruit and vegetable powders that are carefully made from 40 or 50 different fruits and vegetables. As long as they're not overly heated, they're not sweetened improperly, a scoop of those can provide the antioxidant protection of 15 or 18 servings. So that's a belt and suspender approach where you might take a good high-quality powdered product unless you're willing to do a larger variety of fruits and vegetables, which I would prefer, but we just don't see it happening in our society.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk for a minute about strong bones, too, because that's another area where nutrition is so important, the calcium balance and the fruits and vegetables versus meat diet and what happens in terms of fractures there.
Well, see, the body is very, very self-preserving itself, and so when you supply an unyielding amount of acidity-type foods and a lot of acid, I told you that blood must stay 7.35, 7.45. Well, the news is it will, because it has a way to maintain. It can literally break down tissue in its own body to provide it the alkaline minerals that you're not. It can break down the bone itself and cause, leading to a thing called osteoporosis. It can break down and get magnesium out of muscles, which can cause sarcopenia. But osteopenia, if you're talking about leading to osteoporosis, calcium is an alkaline mineral, so is magnesium. So if you won't supply the phytonutrients that are loaded with antioxidant and calcium things, the body will break it down. Now, this is at a detriment, and this is at a tremendous price. This is your bank account. This is what Sebastian will be talking about, your supply that's being gone. But all these chronic diseases may be able to be stopped and or prevented, and maybe in some cases reversed. But we've got to slow down this acid onslaught, John, and you're just absolutely right on with what you're thinking.
And I noted that at one point you mentioned the National Cancer Institute says 8 to 10 servings of fruits and vegetables a day can cut our risk of some cancers in half. That's a pretty compelling
If you go
argument.
into any of the major educational research centers and information out there, that's what I mean about the studies are compelling, forcing almost every government from around the world to start to say, we got to get these antioxidants. We got to get these fruits and vegetables into people. But yes, I've heard different studies or different even numbers than that. But it is pretty impressive stuff out there. It seems simple enough, doesn't it? I mean, how we eat. But in our society, we're just driven to the convenience fast food direction, and it's basically overwhelming acidic.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned a moment ago the vegetable powders to get all the variety of nutrients we need. Let's talk a little bit about the Greens First Wellness Shake. That's your product, is it not?
Yes. We made a product that we mostly sell to healthcare professionals that obviously sell it to patients. At Greens First, that's with an S, GREENSFIRST.com. By the way, if they go there and put /radio, I will send a pH test kit where they can test it. But what we did with this product, we wanted to make sure we made the best product we could. It comes from 54 different superfoods, 54 different fruits and vegetables. There's your variety. It comes where that you take 1 scoop of this in water, shake and drink it. It reconstitutes itself, and it has the antioxidant protection. This is something that you can assay it for. You can use a laboratory that can give you what they call the ORAC or ORAC-FN, the antioxidant protection of 15-plus servings of fruits and vegetables. So it is a belt and suspender approach. I like it first thing in the morning within 30 minutes of getting up, giving the body what it needs to start the day. But then I would very much hope from a belt and suspender approach that you would fill up that plate 3 times a day with really the real deal. But if you don't and you're rushed, at least the body got some form of fruits and vegetables, antioxidants, and they're all from, phytonutrients, even though they're powdered. Many cases it could be argued they could be digested even faster, but I do miss the fiber that you're not going to get from the real deal.
Mm-hmm. So it's gluten-free. They're not sweetened with sugar, right?
No, it is gluten-free, a very important thing to have. Now, we have 2 different versions. We have one that has a slight amount of gluten under the norms of what the government says is below gluten, and then we have one that's absolutely gluten-free. We have found people that have gluten intolerance can take either, but you need to titrate and see. Sweetener is critical. There's no reason to take a good high-quality powder and have it sweetened improperly and triggers blood sugar. So we use either stevia in one or Lohan. Both of these are high-quality sweeteners that do not trigger blood sugar, and that's important. They taste good in water. I mean, there's no reason when you run them by your palate that you won't be able to say, I can do that. And it's also the benefit you're receiving. So children, you can take our berry version. You can maybe freeze it into a popsicle. It doesn't make the world's best, John, but it's a pop, and the child may take it. You can mix it into applesauce. Either way, we can get the product into children. We can get it into adults. It's just a simple way to supplement from not just the isolated phytonutrient, but a whole variety.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of smoothie recipes in your book as well for how to make it delicious in a variety of ways and even healthier. You mentioned herb roots and spices, medicinal plants, milk thistle, red beetroot, cinnamon powder. How do those figure in? Aloe leaf.
They all figure in from the same idea. Many of those things are very much phytonutrients. Again, the phytonutrient, the definition is a plant nutrient. It's plant-derived. And so anything from that herbal idea or from that garden, some of them have tremendous medicinal purposes, and we add those to our Greens First line. Isolated-wise, they're, again, still beneficial, but we're looking for plant-based. And, again, that's any of the fruits and vegetables, a few nuts and seeds. The darker the green, the brighter the hue, the pigment seems to really be what's critical from having huge levels of antioxidants in that fruit and vegetable.
So we've got that Greens First drink, but there's also something called the Ph Alkalizer. Why is that also essential?
Well, we found that in the evening, when the body is processing, when you see free radicals, we get them all the time from all kinds of things besides food. And at night when we're resting, that's when our body is trying to repair itself. A lot of people have difficulty sleeping, nocturnal hypoglycemia, etc. But a lot of it's acidity. And so we have a product that you can take in the late afternoon up to 30 minutes before going to bed at night that can help, as it shows in the science for our product, it can help raise the overnight urinary pH. It can help to distinguish and quench the 5 major types of free radicals. It can actually help to lower one of the major inflammatory markers called C-reactive protein. So it's in a bed of phytonutrients. So it's a PM product. So we have an AM product and a PM product. And if a person is really deficient, as many of them are when they come to see the healthcare provider, the provider may put them on both the AM and PM for a short period of time, maybe 30, 60 days, check their pH and see if they're going up or see how they're feeling. Symptomatically is how doctors like to treat best. You know, how you're feeling, how's your energy level, how's the joint pain. But that is the nighttime product that we found when we added it to the line. Many cases, patients improve faster, John, than just the heavy-duty free radical quenching antioxidant for the daytime.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of good information in Alkalize Now, and there's an alkaline food chart, and it talks about, you know, the 80-20 rule. For a proper alkaline diet, 80% should be alkaline products, and it warns about the acidic vegetables, cereals, and dairy products, and so on. And then there's some recommended meals. I do have a question about the meal selection guideline, because on one page, 52, vegetables, asparagus is shown both as acidic and alkaline. Where does it belong?
Well, you know, that is a dilemma, and it comes up a lot of times with the confusion with just how it breaks down, what ash it breaks down into. Mm-hmm. So what we're talking about on variety, it can be across the board on both sides of this. But you know what? All things being equal, I much rather favor a plant food over, let's say, a dairy or an animal product in excess. Mm-hmm. So again, if you're able to take and understand the importance in that book of that list of variety, you know, many of my colleagues tell me, Don, I eat really well. And when I pin them down, John, they're usually creatures of habit. They like 3, 4, or 5 key things. They don't eat 40 or 50 different ones. None of us really do. Mm-hmm. So variety is important. So, John, that would play into that. It needs to be brought up. I'm glad you did. So not to be confusing, it can fall into that line. But, hey, when you mix it with variety, you're getting the beneficial effects, and the body will pick out of it what it needs nutrient-wise. Mm-hmm. And just give it plenty of phytonutrients that provide plenty of antioxidants at the cellular level.
I've only got about 1 minute left, unfortunately, but let's talk about the steps to promote health, because this diet is a piece of it, but so is getting the body in motion, isn't it?
100%. You know, the lifestyle issues we need to focus on, obviously, stress reduction, exercise. You've got to sleep. We've got to get good quality sleep. We've got to drink pure, clean water. These are key elements of a diet. And then it's the diet that you eat, which we talked about, 80-20, or the government's 50-50, and then supplement. If you're going to supplement intelligently. Don't take an isolated nutrient and think one is going to do it. Go with something that is common sense, that is across the board an approach. But those are the keys to a balanced lifestyle, John.
That's all the time we have, unfortunately. We've been talking with Dr. Donald Hayes. His book, Alkalize Now, is a pH balance program, and his book with Michael Gerber, The E Myth Nutritionist, Why Healthcare Practices Don't Work and What to Do About It, is also an interesting read for all entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Dr. John Cook. Thanks for listening.